Hello everyone, Lawrence Fleming here again. I'm going to start off by saying Happy New Year. 2022 will be more interesting than 2021, I guarantee it. I'm not saying good or bad, I'm just saying more interesting as we get closer and closer to the tribulation time frame, to the 70th day of Daniel, which is the proper term for it. We're going to see more and more interesting things. We're still here, so there's work to be done. But when will the rapture take place? Don't know. It's close. It's very close. As they would say in the South, close enough to spit at or throw a rock at, but we don't know exactly when. We do know that everything is falling into place for the Antichrist. The world is adapting to all the things that would make it possible for him to do what he's going to do. So is he going to be the first thing that we see? I don't think so. He's got to be alive because we're that close. He's got to be an adult because he's going to step in and bring peace. So he's out there right now, and don't speculate. You're not going to know who he is. As long as we're down here as Christians, you're not going to know. Since we have the Holy Spirit in us, we would recognize him immediately, and that would spoil his game. He needs to come in and rescue the world too. Be known as the little savior of the earth. Of course, he's going to want to capitalize that here in a little bit. But in the beginning, he's just going to help pull us out of whatever trauma we're in, whether we're in a worldwide recession or depression, economic collapse, whatever's going on. We know a number of countries are on the virtual edge of collapsing. And our country here in the United States, they're bound and determined to make that happen. You can't create a socialist country right on top of a democratic country. You've got to collapse it first. And they're working that real fast. I don't think we can stop it because it's part of Satan's plan. And we've already read about it in the Bible. We know about the cost of wheat and barley being a day's wage. It's going to happen. They're making it happen around the world. And that way we would be then dependent upon the government. And they could bring in a new monetary system. We've got Bitcoin out there right now growing, but countries are going to actually have to control it themselves and not have it out there as a free enterprise. And some countries are. Britain's got Britcoin. China's got their own. As that continues to grow and spread, it's going to make it more easy for the Antichrist to assume his commanding role in the world. Okay, well, I'm going to continue on what I did last week talking about the Temple Mount. And so my title for today is the Temple, Third Temple, and the Tribulation. When is the rapture? Will we know exactly when? No, but we can kind of guess. The Temple Mount can kind of tell us when the rapture is. But we only can get to a point where we can calculate backwards. We can't calculate the actual start of anything. We know that at the midway point, the 3.5-year point of the 70th day of Daniel, as some people call it, the tribulation timeframe, which is inaccurate. But it's the 70th day of Daniel. Halfway through that, the Antichrist will commit the abomination of desolation in the temple. He will claim to be Christ. And he will have done many great things because Satan, who's running the Antichrist, is the ruler of this world. He can do many of the miracles that have been done on earth all the time and the ones that we have history of. I'm sure that he can cause famines and do all the things that Moses did. So as the ruler of this earth, he's going to be telling the Antichrist what he can do and what he can't. And they're going to fool everybody. Those that are left are going to be fooled. The world doesn't have the Spirit of God, so they're not going to be too hard to fool. There will be a small remnant of Christians that either weren't fully committed at the rapture time or became converted, once the tribulation time frame starts. There will be a small remnant. We've also got the 144,000. So there's going to be an attempt to fool the world. The Muslims are looking for things to change for them. They're looking for their Messiah. Our Christians will be looking for a return of some sort. The Jews are the big ones. They're looking for the first coming of the Messiah. They don't accept Christ. And this time, when Christ does come, he will be coming as the lion that they expect. But they don't realize that they're also in his crosshairs. So they will call on him, and he will come back. So anyhow, as we try to estimate from the midway point back, it talks about the Antichrist defiling the temple. We have to have a temple. A rough estimate would be 8 months to a year to build the temple, to do it right. I mean, they could throw a tabernacle up like they had in the wilderness overnight, but they're going to really want to build the full temple. The Antichrist wants to step in as Christ, and he's going to want the glory of the building and everything else to look good. So he's going to try to get the full temple built. And they're planning on it. They've already got blueprints. So we've talked about that before. But that's going to take maybe a year. So we come back 1 year, so that's 2.5 years into it. Now there's another thing. The Muslims have tried to keep the Jews away from the temple area, away from looking for the ark, because people think it's underneath the Temple Mount, because they understand more than anybody the power of God behind his people and the power of the ark going with them. So they don't want the Jews to find them. They think it's their turn to be the winners. They don't know. So anyhow, I figured that there's going to have to be some archaeological work done under the Temple Mount. Now we know that the Muslims went through a number of years back and they did it on their own. They didn't get approval. They excavated a whole bunch of the Temple Mount area under the dome and out a little bit. They claimed that they were building a mosque underneath, but they were probably looking for the ark as well. They believed the power of it, and if they had it, they think they'd win. But it's well hidden. They're not going to find it. God doesn't want them to have it, at least not yet. The Antichrist may find it, and he may try to use it, but he's not going to have the power of God behind him, so it's going to backfire. But in any case, there will probably have to be some excavation before they build the temple. And the dome and the UNESCO mosque will probably have to be taken down or destroyed. How is that going to happen? If you try to take them down right now, you'd start World War III for sure. I think God may do it for them. The original Dome of the Rock, the original building that's kind of inside what you see now, was heavily damaged during an earthquake. And the UNESCO mosque area, which was really a working building for the Crusaders when they were there, that was heavily damaged. And I think we could have that again. A big earthquake, knocking them both down. They would know that it wasn't Israel doing it, it was God. That might help bring on a peace. And those things are not there, but it will help get them out of the way. So we'll see what happens. We do know that there are lots and lots of tunnels underneath, and they have excavated up to the foundation of the Temple Mount, but they're not allowed to go any further. So I imagine they would go in and finish those off. And what are they going to find? I don't know. We don't know for sure where the ark is. It was well hid, and more than likely the people that hid it died. And even if they pass it on to somebody, they probably died. And certainly everybody from that period, they're all long dead anyway. So there's no way to know if there was no instruction. And the last thing you want to do is to leave a treasure map for that, knowing that God would eventually help them find it. So anyhow, excavation, building time, maybe that's 2 years out of the way. So that only leaves us about a year to get things started. Now we know that their Ezekiel war is lining up. All the countries are lining up. Russia on the north with their massive troop buildup. We know that Iran wants to have the nuclear bomb and would use it the minute they got it. They've said so. Now, how much of that's talk, I don't know. I believe that they are crazy enough that they would use it when they got it. Israel, of course, has their own. How much of it's going to be in the Ezekiel war or in the Armageddon war, I don't know. But things are going to basically be different after it. And that would be the time to broker the peace. But I think we're going to have a little bit more world collapse, and this kind of being an act of desperation to come in and attack. We're told that God's going to put the hooks in the countries to pull them down. And they're going to come down for spoils, for profit. They don't need the land, they want profit. And we know that that's going to happen at some point very soon. So let's look at, let's see where we're at here in my notes. Well, that's kind of all the preliminary parts for this. Christians should be excited for these times. And if you're not a Christian, stay to the very end and I'll tell you what you can do to become one. My normal spiel, if you like this video, please click like. It will help you to know how to place it. If you want to see more, subscribe to this channel and click the bell icon and you know when I release a new video. All right, well, you can help me by sharing this into other videos that need God's help. By sharing, it bypasses YouTube's filters and can help reach more people. I don't ask for donations, but I do ask for your prayers. Seems like the arrows are coming in a lot more lately. We have to keep working to get past that. So prayers are definitely needed. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, one of the areas that the ark could be hidden is under the Temple Mount. We know it didn't go in the spoils, because one, they would have had trouble with it, plagues, etc. And it also isn't depicted in any of the stuff that was written on the Archer or any of the other places that they would have documented their victory. So it's still hidden somewhere, but we haven't seen it for a long time. We don't know where it is. It's an unusual paradox. It's a way to communicate to God, but it's hidden. Whoever hid it probably died. And if they told anybody else, they probably are dead. And of course, it's so long ago that everyone is dead now. And the last thing anybody wants to do to protect the ark would be to create a roadmap to it. Somebody would find it years, later and get it. And if they're the bad guys, they would destroy it. It's interesting. I would love to see it. Now there's one in heaven and we'll get to see that, but I'd love to see this. I'd love to see the things inside, the broken tablets, the manna. I'd love to see all that. Don't know if we will. We may be gone before it's found. That's the thing. I'm going to miss the history of everything, but we're going to get a new Jerusalem. So that would be better overall. Okay. So if the ark is hidden under the Temple Mount, the Muslims didn't find it, because if they did, they would be suffering the plagues of the ark, because they came in and excavated all the Temple Mount, well, a good portion of it, right where the Dome of the Rock is and under it. And they claimed that they were using the excavation to build a mosque underground. Why? Why build a mosque underground? They're expecting to be attacked and they want to be able to pray underground while they're under attack? No, they were looking for the ark because they know the power of it. And they're afraid, as I've said before, so they didn't find it. So if it's under the mount, it's still there. And it's something that you can't just pick up and move a long distance very easily. I mean, they moved it in the first time to set it up in Solomon's temple, and it caused problem. One, it started to fall off the cart, carrying it on a cart. One of the guys tries to steady it and he dies. It's a dangerous artifact. The power of God is involved, so you don't mess with it. You treat it with respect. So if it's hidden around someplace, it's protected. Since we're not hearing about anybody suffering any plagues or any bad things from it, it's probably fairly close to the right spot, the Holy of Holies, where it would have been. They didn't have it for a long time anyway, so we don't really know. Interesting to see it. Okay. So if they're going to dig up the Temple Mount, oh, and we know that there's stuff there because when the Muslims did dig it up, they threw all the rubble over into the Kidron Valley, and there's been an active archaeological dig in that rubble, and they've been finding all kinds of stuff. So it's a fairly active dig area underneath the mount if they can get to it. So in any case, I'm figuring another year, maybe less, but I'm kind of padding the time, kind of figure out what they're going to do with the time. They got 3.5 years before they can defile the temple. What are they going to do? So I'm just throwing things in that they could be doing. We also have the Ezekiel War, which will probably start things off. There's got to be a reason for the Antichrist to come in and create peace. And if we have a war that's big enough for the countries surrounding them to be slammed down by God, basically, he's going to stop the war. And they're going to need some time to recover because they're going to get hit pretty hard. I think that's the time the Antichrist could come in and finish the peace treaty that they've got. All the non-fighting Muslim countries have already signed it. It's the ones that are still fighting. Those are the ones that are going to have to be slapped down by God, and they're going to know it was by God. So they're going to need some time. They will rebuild. We have the final war at Megiddo, but that's a few years away. So they're going to need to rebuild. So if it happens fairly early on, that might leave them in ill repair for 6 months to a year. That takes up basically 3 years. There's going to have to be a little bit more collapse in the world, economic collapse, in order to get the wheat and barley for a day's wage. But that could happen overnight. You know how things are. The Great Depression basically started off small, escalated, and with this, a month, it was hitting everybody hard. So it won't take very long. And that collapse in some countries right now is already teetering. And if the United States keeps spinning the way it is, it will happen here. Yes, hello, Kitty. Yeah, he's worried about it. Yeah, we will have a collapse here, so you need to be prepared. But don't go buy or build a bomb shelter. Just be prepared with some food stores and stuff. You're going to have to ride it out. Things like gasoline are probably going to go up again. Food's already been going up and continuing to go up. I'm seeing on my trip when I came out to Utah, the housing market out here is overinflated because we have all those evacuating from California. Crazy state. It's a beautiful state, but the government has been screwing with it for a long time. They even tried to stomp on the Constitution, and the Supreme Court had to back them down. At least we have them. Some countries don't. So be grateful for that. But we are going to eventually suffer what everybody else is. And economic collapse would be a really bad thing anyway, no matter where you're at. Okay, that's all I'm going to talk about the temple now in this little short video series. There are some more cool videos out there that you can look for. I'll go ahead and post a couple more down below. You can see pretty much all that you can see with these videos. Going there would be nice, Right now, Israel's under lockdown, but I've been told by some sources there that they're going to lift it within a week or so. So if you want to go there, I would get in and out real quick. A lot of the real historic sites, especially the Jesus sites, I think they've been butchered. To build an ornate church over the spot where Jesus was born, I'd much rather see just the manger, instead of all this churchy stuff. We turned it into a shrine, into a idol-worshiping shrine. That's not biblical. They should have left everything alone, but they had to come in there and build all these things. Jesus would never have allowed that. But if you're going to go over there, I would go and take out some of the tour guides and look at some of the remote sites. There are a lot of archaeological digs in and around Jerusalem and surrounding areas. Again, these videos that I've posted are by some of the tour guides that are looking for work right now because there's no tourists allowed in. So if you go over there, help them out and take a tour. You can see some of the sites on your own, but you really need to have a tour to get the behind the scenes stories. Okay, as we march ahead wondering about the timeline and the rapture, we have to be ready. We're still here for one reason, to carry out our Great Commission. We're not done. There are still souls to save, and they will be after we're gone. So plant the seeds that can be then grown into Christians that will help others throughout the tribulation time frame. And the countries that will be involved in the Ezekiel war are continuing to build up. So keep an eye out for that. How is that going to affect us here? It may not affect us here. We may already be into some dire straits anyway because of the economies. But of course, if you're over there, it will be an issue. There will be so many people up there at some point in time that you'd think Israel is completely doomed. And they would be if God doesn't step in. And I wonder what will be the shoe that will drop. The sound of a shoe dropping, you kind of jerk like that, and if you were holding a gun, you might even pull the trigger. Something like that's going to happen. Don't know what it is. We'll see what happens. Something's going to start the ball rolling, so to speak. And the Antichrist, who's going to come in and bring us peace, he has to be alive and doing things now. He has to be getting some kind of a reputation, at least being friends with some of the people involved, so that he can step in. You're not going to have a newcomer walk in. It's going to have a reason. Hitler became popular because Germany was in a depression like the United States was. In fact, we probably caused their depression. So he eventually got them going again, got their economy going. He was very popular, made the cover of Time 3 times, and he was essentially nothing on the world scene until he came in and got the country going back again. So he doesn't have to be a bigwig. He doesn't have to be a president or a leader of some sort. He just has to come in, and he will be the smoothest talking, greater than Clinton or Obama. He will be worshiped, essentially, and that's what he wants. Let's see, the peace treaty will have to be finished. I'm covering some of my notes here to make sure I don't forget anything. Iran and all their proxies will have to basically surrender. And it will be a false peace, but they will have to surrender. And I think because of the Ezekiel war, it will basically damage them so badly they have to turn tail and run and rebuild, which they will. And let's see. These are exciting times because we get to see this. And whether we get to see it before the rapture or after the rapture, we're going to get to see the book of Revelation come to life. Daniel and Ezekiel prophecies come to life. Isaiah 2. All the prophets basically talked bits and pieces about the end times. You put them all together, we have a pretty good picture. And essentially Revelations did that for us. But if you don't believe in Revelation because you're a Jew and you want to stay in the Old Testament, look to the prophets. They cover everything that's going on, including Christ's first arrival here. Okay, let's see. And I talk about this all the time, and I'm going to do it again. I mentioned it above. It's not called the Great Tribulation, the 7-year time period. Only the second half is called that. The first half really has no name. It's been given the title of the tribulation or the 7-year tribulation, but it's really not. We're in tribulation now. Are we in the tribulation time frame? I don't think it started yet. It may have, but we've been in tribulation for a few years, certainly long before it would have started if it has started. So it's not called the tribulation or the 7-year tribulation. It's the 70th day of Daniel would be a more accurate term. The church age is over and God focuses back on Israel. And that's really what's happening here. The first half, we don't know. The birth pains can lead into that. They're going to start before the tribulation, but they can still be going into it. And we've got some sealed judgments that can start in the first half. We've got other things. We've got the bowls. We've got the horses. They can all start in the first half. God's wrath pours out from the second half. The Antichrist in the temple defiling it brings on God's wrath. We definitely don't want to be around past that. So we've got to have the rapture soon. It's going to have to be in the first half. My guess is early on, probably either triggered by or right after the Ezekiel war. We're going to get to see the start, but we're not going to be around after because the Antichrist will have to come on the scene. Okay, let's wrap this up. If you don't know God or Jesus yet, now's the time for you to find out about him. If you're watching this, you're obviously curious. And it's Jesus Christ is the one that you really have to know. He is essentially God, and he will introduce you to God, but he's our earthly connection. He's the one that gives us salvation. For years and years and years, your pseudo-salvation was offering a burnt offering in the temple, in the Holy of Holies. The blood would help cover your sins for the year, and you had to repeat that every year. And you had to make sacrifices throughout the year as provided by the law. Jesus comes to this earth, he dies, spills his blood as a sacrifice for all mankind, everybody he came for. He came for the Jews, he came for Gentiles, the Muslims. If you're a Hindu, it doesn't matter who you are, whatever denomination you are, whether you're in a cult or not, it doesn't matter. Jesus died for you. And it doesn't matter how long you've been doing these other things. Jesus has been waiting for you to take notice of him, realize who he is, have faith in him, repent, and then turn to him. And then you can get his free gift of eternal life with him. We're all going to live forever. Even Satan is going to live forever. They're just going to live in the fiery pit. I don't think we want that. So we want to live forever with God in heaven. And we may be able to live on this earth for a while after all this too, for 1,000 years. So that's the choice you really want to make. So if you don't know Jesus, you want to ask him into your heart. Now I've got a simple prayer where you can invite Jesus in. This is what he tells us to do, to have faith, repent, and ask him to come into your heart. And if you're here watching this, this is for you because he brought you here to hear this. And if you already have done this, get your friends to follow along with the same prayer. You don't need to get them to watch the video. You can just invite them yourself. You can't take anything to heaven except the souls that you help save. You can plant the seeds. We have the parable of the sower and the seeds. You can plant the seeds and let somebody else harvest. You get an assist. If you're in baseball, you know what that means. Okay, so invite Jesus into your heart and you can repeat the simple prayer. Jesus, I know that I'm a sinner. I repent of my sinful ways, which means you turn away from them turn toward God. And I ask you to come into my heart. I accept your free gift of salvation that you paid for with your blood on the cross. I want to be a Christian. I want to be born again. As he told Nicodemus, you have to be born again, spiritually. And I want to have eternal life with you. That's it. If you prayed that prayer and were sincere, and God will know that, I won't, then you're a Christian. That's all there is to it. You don't do anything more. Anything more that you do after that is just icing on the cake, if you will. You don't need to be baptized to be saved. But being baptized is a good gesture to tell others that you've been saved and to show God that you want to be recognized as one of his. You don't have to do good works to be saved. But after you're saved, I think you're going to want to. You're going to want to help people. And we have a great commission that we're to share with others what we've been given and let them also become Christians. This is a pyramid scheme with upside down pyramid, basically. We're going to increase the population of heaven by sharing God's message with them. Can't lose. And there will be rewards in heaven. These are your rewards that Jesus talks about. Don't put your faith or belief in things down here. The rewards are going to be in heaven, not down here. The house you live in, the car you drive, the friends you have, those are for down here. Heaven is different. The more souls you save, the more people you help, those are your treasures in heaven. And we do have a minor judgment. It's not really a judgment, it's more of an award ceremony. And you will get some kind of a reward for your work down here. And if you just became a Christian and you didn't have time to help anybody, if you've helped anybody throughout your life, I think God will see that. Whatever happens, you'll be in heaven anyway. So that'll be a reward in itself. Okay. I'm going to be relocating again shortly. So I might not do another video for about a week just to get settled in and set things up. I'll try to do a couple of comments, and I might throw a short video in from my phone. I won't have my computer set up for about a week. So stay safe, keep watching. We're not too far away. Lead people to Christ because they don't have a lot of time. So until we meet in the skies, God bless.